So you ready?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, this is Nice Wonder, and you're watching The Now Man Show, and I am here in Los Angeles with Andrew Yang, who is running for President of the United States on the Democratic Party ticket. Andrew, welcome to L.A.
It's great to be here. I just arrived today, but we got a rally of a few thousand people revved up for a little bit later tonight.
That's fantastic. Really looking forward to it. So I have a lot of questions for you, or as many as we have time for. And I know that a lot of people out there, if they know about universal basic income, they find it very controversial, right? So just for the basics of it, for people who may not know what it is, can you give us a simple explanation?
Sure. Universal basic income is a policy where everyone in a society, let's call it every American citizen, receives a certain amount of money to meet his or her basic needs, no questions asked. It's a right of citizenship. So under my plan, the Freedom Dividend, every American adult would start receiving $1,000 a month starting at age 18 every month until the day you die.
So, and a lot of people would ask you this question, I'm sure, but people want to know, how's that going to get paid for?
Well, the great thing is our economy is up to a record $20 trillion in GDP, up $5 trillion in the last 12 years. And in terms of how to pay for it, if you look around at the big winners from artificial intelligence and new technologies, it's going to be Amazon, Google, Facebook, Uber. And Amazon literally paid zero in federal taxes last year.
And Facebook did too, right?
I have to confirm that,
Yeah.
but I know Netflix paid zero. It would not surprise me if Facebook paid zero or close to zero. So you have to ask yourself, is that their fault or our fault? And so when you ask, how do you pay for this universal basic income? If we put in a new tax to start harvesting the gains from all these innovations and new technologies, we can generate hundreds of billions, which combined with the economic activity from putting this money into people's hands, plus cost savings on things like incarceration and homelessness services and emergency room health care, plus the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, better educated, mentally healthier, more productive population would be enough to pay for a dividend of $1,000 a month. The way I describe it is that we have to start investing in our people. Companies do this all the time. They expect that they'll win. We have to do the same thing for all citizens.
And a lot of people would wonder about the cost of living, because like in a city like Los Angeles, it's very expensive here. So $1,000 might be okay for Iowa or West Virginia, but what about Los Angeles or Manhattan, for instance?
Well, it's $1,000 a month on top of whatever you're currently making. So it would be a game changer for people in most parts of the country. But it's true that it doesn't go as far in places like Los Angeles as it would in rural communities and places around the country. There's a trade-off involved because many people live in a place like New York because they're trying to access certain economic opportunities. And the hope is that this $1,000 a month, it goes with you wherever you go. So it could help make us much more dynamic, where people feel fixed in place because they need to be close to work, but maybe we could move around a little bit. And it could mean that people from rural communities take a shot at living someplace a little more expensive. I have a feeling a lot of people here in LA might be tempted to move someplace a little lower cost if they had $1,000 a month coming in. So it should fuel movement in both directions.
So a lot of people would also question, when you say value-added tax, they would say, ooh, tax. What is that exactly?
Well, again, if you look around at other countries, they've figured out what we have not. So if you have your biggest tech companies, literally trillion-dollar companies paying zero in federal taxes, it's partially because the income tax system is really easy to game. A company like Amazon or Netflix will say it just went through Ireland or it didn't happen here in the U.S. So what other countries have already done is they've already implemented a value-added tax, which then means if you're benefiting from that marketplace, you have to pay into it. And that's the most foolproof way to make sure that the American people get a tiny slice of every Amazon purchase, every Google search, every robot truck mile, every Facebook ad, and on and on.
Because, one of our founding fathers, Thomas Paine, was a proponent of the citizens' dividend, is what he called, and he was a radical. He was even considered a radical in his day. And I know a lot of people from all across the political spectrums, and their critique of that is everywhere from, well, we've all heard the free money nonsense, everybody just wants free money, just like Bernie, free education, And then I've also heard other criticisms as well because, people are concerned that, well, isn't that just like a form of reform? And as much as we all love the New Deal and everything like that, there's people who don't want to see the UBI Plus go away. because of, we see how our system functions or dysfunctions. So people would be concerned that already have welfare or disability, hopefully not Social Security would go away, that they're concerned that, well, in the transition of this new system, they might lose all of that, which would concern people. Because we have, as you know, lots of people homeless. More and more people are out in the streets. A lot of people have lost homes since 2008. They've lost careers, income, savings, even pensions, retirement savings. I can certainly relate to that. I know millions of people that way. 40% can't afford basic necessities or a $500 emergency, and it's just going to get worse until we can do something. So what do you think about a dividend that's based on like the commons? Like, for instance, the things that we all share together. For instance, the internet, intellectual property. When we do develop solar and wind and hydropower systems, and even fossil fuels like the Permanent Fund in Alaska. What are your thoughts about the commons being part of that dividend?
Well, that's in essence what I'm proposing with the freedom dividend, which is what my version of universal basic income is. And if you think about this value-added tax, it's essentially a tax on our common marketplace. And so the spirit is exactly identical to the petroleum fund that you describe and carbon tax and dividend, which I'm for. So the tricky part to me is that you can find something and you put it in place of the natural resources to tax it, but then the amount of money you're talking about is unclear to people. So I'm much rather just start at the end goal. It's very easy to understand, $1,000 a month for every American adult. And then we can figure out what common resources that we need to harness to get there.
Yeah, and that's true. We can it's great that you're doing this to open up the discussion and get some movement on it, because I have family in Switzerland, and I first learned about UBI that way from the referendum. Are you familiar with that, from like 2015, 2016?
Yeah, but they were asking for, I believe, it was something like $36,000 a person per year. But I want to say very clearly, we can do more than just elevate the ideas. We can win the whole thing.